hi, Chris. Thank you so much for being here and sharing the kind of Krantz story with Phin and how you guys are using our security awareness training platform and our email triaging tool, Phinbox IQ. Before you were with Phin, what drove your team to look for a new provider?
We were having issues with our current one, uh, delivering consistently the monthly reports. So we were inconsistently delivering them, and when we did deliver them, they didn't always go to the right people. So it was a whole mess.
So, guaranteed automated monthly reports going to the right stakeholders at your tenants.
Right, something that seems so simple. Yes.
What other vendors were you looking at? Like, were we in contention with? Because I'm sure that you looked at a variety.
Yeah, so we were looking at Breach Secure now. We did look at Know before, as well as a few others that were on the Pax8 marketplace. I don't remember at this time the other names, but I know it was really like between you guys and Breach Secure now and Know before was really who we were looking
And
at.
who were you using before Phin?
Hook Security.
Okay, gotcha. Besides automated reporting, what other things did you find attractive about the Phin platform?
The simplicity of onboarding a new client. So and the hands-off training that like we don't have to maintain the campaigns. That the campaigns are maintained by you guys. So we just sign our clients up, and they get sort of we choose the general categories, but you guys then kind of assign the actual courses within those categories over the course of the year. That was what we had before, so that's kind of what we wanted to keep. Was we wanted to keep that, like, white glove managed security awareness training.
Um, how difficult was it to add your first customer to the platform and deploy training?
Not hard at all, because you guys do a good job of integrating with 365. So as long as they're a 365 client, it's pretty much just some clicks and some approvals on some access rules and whatnot, and then you guys have we start syncing users, and um, with the continuous training, you just assign them to that, and away they go. So it's really not bad at all.
Have you had additional team members join Krantz, and have you had to train them on the Phin platform?
Yes, yeah. So as because Fin is one of our tools in our stack, it does get included in our new employees onboarding. So everybody we bring in does have to um, go through Fin. But like I said, it's not difficult. It's not really a headache for anybody to learn, and day to day management wise, we don't do much. Here or there, there's a user who says they completed a training, but it didn't show that they completed. But stuff like that happens occasionally. But pretty much it kind of maintains itself because it's synced to 365. So as users come and go, they get added and dropped. So we don't really we're not really in Fin every day doing stuff. It's not that kind of product.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
um, how do you convince end users, your clients, to actually take the training? Like, what strategies do you use to get that
So
accomplished?
we tie it back to the company's cyber security and cyber insurance. So all of our clients have varying levels of cyber insurance, and at every level, no matter who you have, no matter who your provider is, they all require you to be doing security awareness training and having records of it. So we're always able to tie it back to that. Some of our clients do have other security compliance frameworks that they need to follow, so we can tie it to there as well. But um, one of those two approaches usually works, especially when we give out statistics around, the number of claims that are not, uh, you know, put through by cybersecurity insurance providers because of missing criteria. And one of the first ones they always check is how up to date was this employee that got breached on their cybersecurity insurance. And if you can't show that data or that user is not up to date, it gives the insurance provider a loophole to say, well, they're not doing their job, so we're not going to do ours. We're not going to pay you, and or we're going to pay you 20% or whatever. I, I always I always use the comparison to car insurance. Like when you get in a car accident, it's almost never 100-0. So, think of it the same way. Cyber insurance providers trying to find anything to do to get out of that 100-0 and have to pay for the full coverage. So, this is an easy one for them. So we try to make it not easy. We try to say, this is why you need it. This is why. More importantly than getting our clients to do it, it's the continuation of our meetings with them, making sure that somebody at the company is holding the rest of the users accountable to complete it. We don't have a problem getting clients signed up on Phin. The challenge is, can we over the long run meet with them enough to keep them doing the training and not have usually an executive that hasn't completed a training in 10 months. And that's really the challenge. Getting people to agree to do the training is never the hard part. It's usually, check in 12 months, 18 months, 2 years down the road. How are they doing? How many of those 24 courses did they complete? That's the challenge.
The actual management of Phin, of enrolling, customers and things like that. Who on your team does that?
The main person, well, enrolling a new customer, you mean?
Yeah.
You said? Okay. That can really be done by any of our guys or any of my team really. Typically, my operations coordinator does it only because when we get a new client, they usually have the list of all of the users and stuff from the client as they're trying to, because one of their main jobs during our onboarding is to get our PSA tool all buttoned up for the new client. So because they're so intricately involved in communications and users, it's easy for them just to go into Phin, click a few buttons, link their 365, and then make sure that the user counts match. Because sometimes we sync and we're like, oh, you said 23 and we have 24. Who's this 24th person? So it's usually easier for my operations coordinator to do it. But realistically, it really depends on our schedule and how the onboarding is going. But like I said, any of my team can do it from a performance perspective on our side, and like who can do it the fastest. The operation coordinator can, just because they have the most information at the time that we onboard somebody. Because we usually get them started in the security awareness training the first or second week that they're with us, because it's easy to do. So my operations coordinator just throws it in, starts it up, and says, okay. It usually, with you guys, when you start somebody, it's like next month, like 30 days from now, they get so we just say, okay, you're in, blah, 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 in March. That's going to be your first training. And then we usually just say, sometime in March, you're going to get your first phishing test. Just be ready for it. And then usually my engineers will work on deploying the report a phish button. And then we'll start a conversation around that, which we may talk to. But that has a whole other set of advantages for us rolling that out as well. So, I leave that, we leave that in the hands of my engineers because usually rolling it out brings some questions around what does the button do? How do we use it? But let me tell you, once we get it out and we answer a few questions, our users have no problem clicking that button, and they click it often and frequently.
So you are a ConnectWise shop, correct?
Yes.
So y'all have the integration of our new Phinbox IQ,
Correct.
Official name now. We took a while to name it because we wanted to get it right. But how long have you been using that feature?
As far as I know, we were one of the first clients that you guys put on it. I was working with your CTO and your head of engineering on one-on-one calls to try to get weird errors fixed. Like we rolled it out and he was like, oh yeah. So we were way back in the beginning days of it. So we've been using it for a while now. And it's really just baked into how my team handles like spam. Like if a client tells us, hey, I got a spam message, my team will almost always respond with, did you click the button to report it? Not because it's like it is. It's what we want them to be trained to do. But my engineers doing it more selfishly because they want all the information that you guys are going to collect on the message so that they don't have to go collect it. It's kind of serves two purposes. One, we're helping to reinforce the training that we want them to do, but my engineers are a little more selfish. They want all the details and all the tech data that they don't have to collect if somebody presses the button.
How much time is it saving them in collecting that information?
We probably estimate on an easy one 5-10 minutes. Sometimes if it's a widespread one, like if it goes to if it's a message that everybody in the org got, that could be 15, 20 minutes because on the cleanup side, it's huge. Like once we're able to go through the data and see, okay, this was a legit phishing message, then we can go and say, okay, Phin, show us who got the message. And then we can say delete, 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 delete. And then we just simply tell the user, hey, we deleted the message from all these people's mailboxes. They also got it. It was real. If you still see the message, don't click the link, blah, 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 blah. And then my engineers have spent 5-10 minutes just reviewing the data and clicking some buttons to clean it up versus having to log into the tenant and do message traces and all sorts of things to try to track down the message, who got it, and take care of it manually. So on an individual basis, it is a big time saver, but it does depend really on the extent of the message.
Yes, since you've trained your users to use that report a phish button, can you estimate how many reported phishes you get in ConnectWise in the Phin pod, maybe in a month or a week?
So in a month, I would say we get anywhere between 200 to 300 reported a month across our user base. Of that, I don't know how many would be real. The vast majority, I will say though, the vast majority are real. Our users are reporting stuff that is real. The extent of this, like the severity of it, we don't get too many that are like criticals. Like we'll get some that like we analyze and we're like, yeah, that's they were definitely looking for some of your information or whatever. It's I'd probably say over 60 to 70% are legitimate like phishing messages. The rest are spam, right? But even that, the integration allows us to block those messages. So even if the person says, yeah, that's cool that it wasn't a phish, but I don't want to receive it anymore. Okay, click, block.
Right.
There you go. You're not going to receive it anymore. Have a nice day. So even from that extent, my team's not even frustrated. Like they're not even like, oh, it's a waste of time. Like, because they're like, we have the information, we can determine, was it really bad or was it just annoying? And if it was annoying, do you still want it blocked? Or what do you want me to do with it? Right. And it's not a big time suck for my team. So they're like, whatever. All the information's there. So it really makes their lives easy,
Yeah, you're definitely reducing the noise in their inbox.
Right. When they get those, they, like we do a morning stand up and the guys will say, oh, I have three potential phishing messages I have to look at. And they're never annoyed. And even in my one-on-ones I do with my team, I don't get negative feedback about it. I always ask, I'm like, so, how's the tickets? How's this? And they're always like, yeah, we had a lot of users report some phishing stuff this month, and and it was this or that, but they're never. There are times when our monitoring tools and systems can be noisy, and I'll hear it from my team, like, "Hey, this really stinks. I'm getting a lot of useless tickets, blah blah blah." But I've never heard that from these. They're I think because the information that's collected saves them so much time, and they can analyze it then from that one ticket screen and say, "Oh, okay, I can spend 5 minutes and click through a couple of tabs and find out this message needs to go, or that this message was just spam." And we've even sort of a weird use case for it was we had one user in particular who submitted like 10 in a matter of like 2 minutes. So my engineers who got them talked to each other and said, let's go look at their 365 spam settings, because why is all this stuff getting through to begin with? And we found a misconfiguration and we corrected it, and it stopped it from even happening. So sort of like a side use case was like we were able to see a hole that existed in their spam filtering, because it was just very weird that a single user would get like 10 of these in the morning. And we were like, that's a lot. Most people submit like one or two here or there. 10. And my team was like, let's go look what's happening and why did these even get through? And then they fixed it at the Microsoft level, and then cleared up all the tickets and whatnot, which is sort of like not its intended purpose, but it can help identify that. Really though, like I said, deploying the button and then training your users to use it.
Yeah, definitely. I used to be a teacher, so I'm doing a math word problem. If you get 200 tickets prior to using this tool, and your techs had to spend 15 minutes a ticket, 200 times 15 is 3,000 minutes a month. Divide that by 60, that's 50 hours they would have spent
Yep.
on that. Let's say that now they're only spending 5 minutes on a ticket. Now that's 1,000 minutes a month divided by 60. That 50 hours went down to 16 hours. So you're saving about 34 hours a month in labor, almost a full time.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a week, but 36 hours a
That's
month.
close. Yeah, it's close. Yeah, it's close to it. No, it is a lot of time. Like I said, we notice it, we see it, and we feel it. Like we we're knock on wood. We started 2026 in one of those areas where we're really efficient right now. We've because of tools like this and some other things we've done where we've really eliminated that wasted time on tickets and stuff. And this tool was one of the easy ways to eliminate a lot of time, which we didn't calculate at the beginning. When we, about a year ago, we really said, hey, let's see if we can really reduce our ticket time and get our response and completion times really, really low. Like we want to be so low that nobody believes us, right?
Mhm.
Like that's our goal. But phishing tickets and spam messages wasn't even in our purview as far as, hey, let's target that. We were looking at all sorts of other tickets around PC setups and all sorts of things. And then your CTO came and said, hey, do you guys want to try this? And I said, sure, whatever. Like we like you guys. We're a good partner. We'll give it a shot for you. And then very quickly, within like a couple of weeks, my operations coordinator was like, Chris, we found something time saving wise. We didn't even, what did we do? And I said, I have no idea. So we looked and I said, oh, that's the thing from Phin that we're trying out. And then we just watched it, and it's just pretty much stayed that way, the time savings. And it was like, we didn't really do anything, right? We deployed a button to people, and we gave them some documentation and some insight. And really our strategy really is find a user at each client who can be our champion, and we can have them be like, hey, when you're at the water cooler, just mention the button. Like, when you're in a team meeting, just mention the button, right? And my team does it too. So like when we're on calls with you, we'll ask like, oh, you had an issue with a spam or whatever. Message. You have this button right here. If you click it, it goes right to us, opens a ticket, and then you can get back to work. And once they hear that, they're like, done. I don't have to call you. Nope. You find the message, click it, boom, it reports, and we'll call you when we're ready if we have any questions.
That's awesome.
So it was like an unknown time waster,
Yeah.
because it didn't seem like that, and even in like our data, um, we categorize tickets by in connect wise by type, subtype, and item, but we found a misconfiguration where the tickets of this type kind of were going into two branches. So that's why the time wasn't visible to us, because it was two smaller numbers that when you added them together made that big 50. And it wasn't until we saw this time savings and then backtracked and figured that out and cleaned it up that we were like, oh, that should have been something that we targeted early on.
Yeah.
And we just so happened to do it because, like I said, your CTO reached out.
What is it? Death by a thousand cuts. Is it? It's
Right.
little bitty things, but when you add them all together, you see the big
Exactly.
impact.
Yeah.
Very good. If you could change anything about Phin, what would it be?
Um, that's a great question. I don't have anything. Like I said, I think the products is focused. It's easy to use. You guys don't try to go out of your lane. Like you know what your lane is. You know where you guys belong in this ecosystem, and you don't try to jump into other areas and get to places where you may not be strong in. Um, you're this is something unique. Like, not all the vendors have normally scheduled meetings with their clients. A lot of them say they do, but you guys do. Like, the account manager reaches out and we have meetings all on a pre-cam basis. I've got a lot of other vendors that say they'll do that and then they fall off track. So I think from that perspective, I don't really have anything that I'd say for you guys would need to improve on or change. I think you guys are headed in the right direction. Um, yeah, I like everything you guys are doing.
Thank you. I have one. If you could tell somebody at an event, like one thing, like one reason they should use Phin, what would it be? Like we have one one partner that we have a quote on a banner that says, "Holy shit, have I told you how great Phin is?" Like, do you have like a quote or something you would tell somebody, a
If
reason?
somebody, yeah, if somebody asked me why I was using you guys, it's because you guys listen to the partners. And that is so simple, but it's rare in our space. Um, that as vendors grow, they pull further away from us, and they don't always listen to us. And you guys have, as you guys have grown and expanded, you've stayed true to that, where you listen to the partners and you're building and adding and making changes based on the feedback you're getting from us, which is few and far between. And the top products in our industry are top products because of that. Like the products that all the MSPs like. It's because of that. It's not necessarily, yeah, they're good products, but they listen to us. They take our feedback, and they grow based on our feedback, not based on what's going to get them the most money necessarily.
That's awesome. Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time, your feedback, and we're an open book. So if you need anything at all or have some suggestions, feature requests, um, please always submit a ticket, email us, yell at us on LinkedIn, whatever you want to do.
Will do.
All right. Thank you, Chris.